Look, if you're a portrait photographer stuck around $1,000 or $2,000 a month, you've probably tried everything. You've watched the YouTube videos. Maybe you've bought a course or two. You're probably working all the time, but the money just isn't there. But here's the thing. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because the market is too small or because there's too much competition. The problem is you're trying to get to six figures using a model that's designed to keep you broke. You're selling $400 photo shoots when you should be selling $4,000 experiences. By the way, if you're new to my channel, I'm Sarah Petty, founder of the Photography Business Institute. I've built a multi-million-dollar portrait photography business, and my students, they've generated over $32 million in sales since the pandemic using this exact system. In this video, I'm going to walk you through my exact 4-step process on how to consistently generate $2,500 plus orders. To start, let me just be real for a second about what it actually takes to hit that six figures. Whether you're working full-time or part-time, it is possible. But if you have an average sale of like $400 per photo session, and likely you're giving all the digital, so you don't get any orders on the back end, you need 250 clients to hit $100,000. That's roughly 5 clients every single week, all year long. And then you have hours and hours of endless editing and retouching. Now, if you have an average sale of, say, $2,000 per session, you only need 50 clients to get to six figures. That's about 1 client per week. And if you have an average sale of $4,000 per session, you only need 25 clients during the year. That's 1 client every other week. My friend, you can do that part-time. And the best part is when you offer printed wall portraits, books, albums, you're only retouching what they buy. So the time you're investing is like totally shrinking. Now, which one of those sounds more appealing? Let's see, over here, working all the time and hating your life and clients not even getting something beautiful to look at forever, or over here where you're being rewarded financially for the care that you're giving to every single client. Which one sounds like you could actually provide an incredible experience versus just churning through volume? The math doesn't lie, my friend. Higher orders means fewer clients, which means more time per client, which means better service, which means happier clients who love you, gush on you, and refer you. This is the boutique model, which is what I've used in my business, what I teach. And let me be clear, there are other ways to make six figures or multiple six figures in photography, but this is the only way I feel like where you can leverage your time to get there while having lifestyle freedom. It's no longer trading time for money. Because what's the point of making six figures if you're working every weekend, missing your kids' lives and burning yourself out, when you can easily make six figures working during normal business hours, or if you have a day job and you're working 1 weekend a month or a few nights a month, and maybe you're making enough to outsource the editing and retouching if you want. So let's talk about how to actually do this. Step 1 is so important, and that is figuring out what makes you different. And of course, being able to articulate it. Here's the problem. Portrait photography is one of the most saturated, commoditized industries out there. Do you agree? Everyone has a camera in their pocket, and gosh, the iPhone is such a great camera anymore. There are photographers everywhere offering mini sessions, cheap digital files, cheap packages. And listen, while most businesses compete with someone who's doing it cheaper, you're competing with free because everyone has a digital camera. And heck, really nice digital cameras are so affordable. So how do you stand out when everyone's doing the same thing? This is where number 1 comes in, and you have to position yourself as being different. And the story you tell to your clients is what creates more value and makes you worth more. And I don't mean having a better logo or a fancier website. I mean, fundamentally, how are you explaining to your clients and prospects what you do that's different? And if you're saying, but Sarah, I'm really not that different, I just like to take photos. At the end of the day, my friend, you're an artist, and no artist can compete with another artist because we're humans and we're just different. So your job is to figure out your story. We call this your why. For me, it's this. I have almost no photos of myself as a child. So in my studio, I have a framed photo. It's about this big, and I put it in a big frame that I tell everyone is pretty much my best childhood photo because it is. And all you can see is the top of my head. You can't even see my face. That's it. So that is why I am so passionate about making sure every family has printed artwork of the people they love. I don't want anyone else to grow up without printed photos like I did. And this story creates value. It makes people feel something. It separates me from every other photographer who's just posting, now booking on Instagram. Look, your story doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be authentic. Maybe you were bullied and struggled with self-confidence as a teen, and you want to help empower other teenagers because you remember how hard it was. Maybe you're a parent who understands how fast childhood goes, and you want to help freeze those memories for other parents. Whatever it is, as insignificant as you think maybe it is, there's a story in there, and that's your differentiator. That's what makes you different in a sea of sameness, and that's what makes you worth more. Which brings me to step number 2, which is your products and your process. So you figured out what makes you different. Now let's talk about what you're actually selling to people. And this is where everything changes, all right? Most photographers are selling digital files. You have a session, maybe it's 30 minutes at a park, you edit a bunch of images and you hand over all the digital files for $200, maybe $400 if you're like really lucky. But here's the problem with digital files. They're a commodity. People can get them anywhere, even on their own phone. There's no differentiation. And honestly, if you're giving all the digital files away, most people never even print them. You might tell yourself this story that, oh, they're gonna love them and they're gonna order a bunch from me. But let me tell you from experience, it doesn't work that way. People get overwhelmed looking at all the choices and decision fatigue sets in. So if you want to 10x your orders, you need to sell physical products. That's wall portraits, albums, artwork for people's homes. Think about it like McDonald's versus a sit-down restaurant. And maybe you've heard me say this before, but I'm telling you, you need to hear these things more than once because repetition is so important. At McDonald's, you walk in, you order a Happy Meal, it comes in a box, everything's pre-packaged, you get your burger, fries, and a little junky toy for $10. It's fast, it's cheap, it's not really that healthy. It's transactional because you don't even know the person taking your order. You often eat it in your car and you're done. Now, think about the experience at a nice sit-down restaurant. You walk in and someone seats you. They bring you water. Maybe they offer you a glass of wine. And the server comes over and introduces themselves. And they build rapport with you and they recommend appetizers. Oh my gosh, the calamari is incredible tonight and we're almost out. Then you order it. Then they bring you the most delicious bread. You order a salad, then your entree, maybe you share a side dish, then dessert, maybe an after dinner drink. You're there for an experience. You're there for maybe 2-3 hours. And instead of spending $10, you might be spending 10 times that, $100 or more per person. Do you see that it isn't unreasonable to spend 10 times more for a meal that you could get for a fraction of the price? Especially if you want to buy the ingredients and cook it yourself. Heck yeah. And it isn't because this nicer restaurant was pushy or salesy. Of course, you've got annoying, bad salespeople all the time. But in a really well-run business, it's successful because they had a different model. Same thing with photography. When you're selling digital files, you're McDonald's. You're transactional. You're cheap. You're fast. It doesn't mean you aren't good. I mean, come on, McDonald's French fries are pretty darn good. And People treat you like a commodity. Oh, another digital file photographer. When you sell printed products like wall portraits, albums, custom artwork, you're in the sit-down restaurant. You're an experience. You're building a relationship. You're guiding them through a journey. And just like a restaurant, they don't walk in knowing exactly what they want. They need and want your guidance and your recommendations. That's what makes the difference between a $400 order who's like, thanks, and a $4,000 order who's gushing on you and telling you this is the best thing they've ever bought in their entire life. Here's the thing I want you to hear, my friend. People don't need more digital files. They have thousands on their phone already that they'll never even look at again. What they need, what they crave, is something tangible, something they can see on their walls every single day that makes them feel something. And they don't even know they want this until you show them, until you educate them, my friend. It's kind of like Henry Ford said, if he would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. They didn't even know cars existed. Your clients don't know what life feels like to walk into their home and have a 30 by 40 canvas of their kids over the sofa until you paint that picture for them in their mind. So your job is to educate them, show them what's possible, help them see how custom artwork will make them feel amazing every time they walk into their home. But the key takeaway here is this, and I really want you to hear this. Digital files are going to keep you stuck at $200 to $400 orders. Physical products open the door to $2,000, $4,000, even $10,000 plus orders. I know that may sound crazy, but it happens every day. Here's the best part that took me a minute to realize. Because I'm getting clear with the client about what they want, I'm shooting way less. I'm showing so many fewer images and I'm only retouching what they order. So while I am spending more time and meeting with the client to plan the products they'll be purchasing and then, of course, helping them order, it's way less overall time because I'm not overshooting and over retouching. You're not just selling photos. You're selling an experience. You're selling artwork. You're selling how your client will feel when they walk into their home every single day and they look at the walls and they see the people and the pets that they love. All right, let's pause for a second because you've got a story, your why, that differentiates you. You've shifted from selling digital files to selling digital products and experiences. That alone could transform your business. But here's where it gets really interesting because now you need clients to make these offers too. So step 3 is all about discovering your ideal clients. And quite frankly, this is where most photographers get it wrong. They think they need to wait for clients to find them. They focus on SEO, hoping someone will Google portrait photographer near me and book them. But here's the reality. Your ideal clients aren't solution aware. They don't even know they have a problem that you can solve. Think about it. No one's laying in bed at night thinking, man, I really need a 30 by 40 wall portrait over that sofa to make me so happy. That's not how people think. They might be thinking, gosh, we haven't had family pictures lately. We should search for a photographer. Still, they aren't thinking about wall portraits because nobody's taught them how that works. So they look on a bunch of websites, they grab the cheapest digital file photographer, and they still have no images to hang as artwork to decorate their home. So if they're not searching for you, how do you find them? Here's a hint. They're already connected to somebody in your life more than likely. Let me explain what I mean, because when you went to college or maybe you moved to a new city in your life, where you didn't know anyone, it started by meeting one person. Maybe in college, your roommate, and then you met some people down the hall, and then someone invited you to a party and you met their friends. And over time, you built a network of friendships and connections. Well, in business, we call those connections your database or your contacts, your pipeline. The people who in your life, if they can't hire you, they likely have at least one relationship with a right fit client who could hire you. Here's the secret, my friend. These ideal clients are likely hiding in plain sight. Something I love to teach my students is something we call the slug bug marketing game. Do you remember when you were a kid, you'd see a Volkswagen Beetle and you'd punch your sibling and you'd yell slug bug? I know some of you call it punch buggy, but I'm from the Midwest. We called it slug bug. Same thing though, right? It was one of my favorite childhood games. But the point is, you had to train yourself to look for those slug bugs. Once you start looking and training your eye, you see them everywhere. Same thing happens with your clients. You have to train yourself to identify opportunities everywhere you go. You're at the dentist's office. You strike up a conversation with someone in the waiting room. Bam, potential client. You're at your kid's soccer game. You chat with another parent. Boom, potential partner for a charity event. You join a local business group. You meet with other business owners. You partner with them, grab a charity to raise money for, and bammo, referral sources. The point is, you're not sitting there at your computer waiting for people to find you. You're actively building relationships. You're meeting people. You're having conversations. And when you can articulate what makes you different, your story, your why, those conversations turn into bookings. Look, I get it. They might say, oh, my sister is a photographer who can do this for me. And you say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you have someone in your life to photograph your family. And then you give them a fist bump and you say, yes, I love it. It doesn't matter. Even if they don't hire you, you're still making a difference. And you might be thinking, I know, Sarah, but I'm an introvert. I'm not like you. I don't like to go out and talk to people and meet people and network. I get it. But here's the thing. You don't have to be a loud, extroverted salesperson. You just have to be willing to have conversations. I don't like working with pushy salespeople either. But listen, and I'm being just super upfront with you. If you're not willing to learn to talk to people and put yourself out there and build relationships, you might consider becoming a photographer for someone else instead of running your own business, because attracting clients is part of the job. But the good news is, this is a skill set that you can learn. And if you're willing to get a little uncomfortable and put yourself out there to have conversations, you will find, like slug bugs, your ideal clients are everywhere. Step 4 is a smooth, frictionless ordering process. All right, here's where the magic happens. This is where you go from $400 to $4,000 orders. Most photographers think that the selling happens at the end of the process. They do the session, they edit the images, they put them in an online gallery, and then they hope and pray that someone orders. But that's not how it works. That's why you're getting $200 orders or clients that ghost you. The selling happens at the beginning, specifically in 2 places. The first phone call, and then the in-person consultation that has to happen before this session. Let me break this down for you, okay? The first phone call. This is where you explain what makes you different. You want to tell your story, create your value, explain your pricing, explain that you don't do digital files, and why is it that you create custom artwork. By the end of this call, they should know if they're a right fit or not, and so should you. And if they say, oh, I just want digital files for $200, you can be so kind and say, hey, that's fantastic. It's just not what we do. But if you go post on Facebook that that's what you're looking for, I'm sure you will get flooded with photographers who do that. And if they say, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. I didn't even know this was something that could be done. How do we get started? You book them. Or if they're somewhere in the middle of not being exactly sure if they're a yes or a no and they have questions, answer them and stay committed to serving them in a way that helps them figure out what the best next step is for them. I always say being committed but not attached to whether they hire you or not. And that's how you stay a non-salesy consultant. And then in the in-person consultation, this is the secret, friend. This is where the real selling happens. Because before you even pick up your camera, you've got to meet with them in person. Like, this is a non-negotiable for me. I go to their home if possible. I ask them specific questions. What do you love about your kids? What do you want to remember about this time in your life? Do you see what's happening here? If they're still focused on digital files, it will trigger something for them and you can have the conversation. But otherwise, you're getting them excited about ordering artwork for their home. Based on their answers, you create a sales plan. So you know exactly what you're going to photograph because you know what they want. So when you show up for this session, you're not just spraying and praying. You're not overshooting and hoping something sticks. You're strategically creating the images they've already told you they want. Then when you present the images, it's easy. They see the image of their kids that's perfect for over the mantle because you planned for that spot. They see the album with all the cousins or with the new puppy because you talked about gifting that to grandma or to your spouse. You helped a teen who's struggling to feel better about herself, and the art on her wall will lift her up daily. You're not convincing them to buy. You're just showing up with what they already said they wanted. And here's the beautiful part. You sit with them. You hold their hand, you make recommendations, and you guide them to a decision. Because here's what most photographers don't understand. Clients are terrified of making a mistake. They don't know what size to order. They don't know if it'll look good in their space. They don't want to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars and then regret it. So when you guide them through the process, you're serving them and you're taking away their fear. So when you show them in a room view what their artwork will look like to scale in their room and you make that recommendation, how can they say no to that? You're not being pushy. You're being helpful. You're serving them like you would your best friend. And that's why they happily invest $2,500, $4,000, sometimes $10K or more. Not even kidding. Because you made it easy, you made it fun, and you took away the risk. All right, let's bring this all together because I really want you to hear this in a linear way. Here's what we covered. Step 1, you're going to figure out what makes you different. Your story, your why. The thing that separates you from every other photographer. Step 2, you're going to shift from digital files to physical products. You're going from McDonald's to a sit-down restaurant, from transactional to experiential. Step 3, you're discovering your ideal clients because they're already in your life. You just need to train yourself to spot them and have non-salesy conversations. Then step 4, we're gonna create a smooth, frictionless ordering process. This is where you start selling on the first phone call and then again in the in-person consultation and not wait till the end because that's when you're pushy and annoying. Make it easy for them to say yes. That's the system. 4 key steps to build a 6-figure portrait photography business that lets you put life first. Now, I know some of you are sitting here thinking, Sarah, this sounds amazing, but I have no idea where to start. I'm so overwhelmed. Listen, I get it. This is a complete system. It's not just one thing. It's how all the pieces fit together. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, if your mind is racing with ideas, but you don't know what to do first, I want to invite you to book a call with my team. And here's what my team will do with you on that call. They will walk you through your specific business challenges and identify where you're stuck, what's working and what's not, and we'll help you figure out your next steps. Then we'll see if one of our programs might be a right fit to help you implement this exact system. No pressure, no hard sell, just a conversation about your business and how we might be able to help, because as much as you're looking for the right mentor, we're looking for the right students. The booking link is in the description below, so click it and pick a time that works for you and let's talk.